The men in uniform have no mandate to stop us. If there is any law or legislation that needs to be done, it's got to be done then when the corruption lays down. Instead, when the people, when the protectors, they are there to get away with this such corruption. That is what.
We are demonstrating about the genocide issue, where the government wants to proceed and accept the negotiations between Namibian government and the Germans. So we want our government not to proceed with this to accept in parliament, but actually to take it as a review. The people must review the country, Namibian country and the German country. They must try to review these negotiations because it will not help it totally. The quantum is very small, and also the negotiation within the agreement is also somehow the question. So, and when you talk about humanitarian welfare, it's not even there. So that's the problem because now they are talking about the project. Project to whom? Who's going to benefit from the roads? Who's going to benefit from those clinic and hospital in those areas? It's all the Namibians. But what about for those people who are affected directly? So that's our question. So that's why we say these things must be go and to be reviewed by the Namibian government and affected communities so that they can look at those things. Without these things, we cannot allow these things to happen. There is no such a way that we can allow these things to go ahead. Because the community, the affected communities, they are demonstrating about these things. So the arrogancy of the government must reverse to look at us as the Namibians. We are all belong to this country. We are not the second citizen of this country. We are all affected. So they must look at us. They must look at us. There were people who are friend fighters. They are benefiting from the current government, from the case. But actually, we did not even complain. That's why we see the veterans are getting 2,500 per month. It's how we want it. The Namibian people who are affected by the war of 1904 and 1908, they are saying we have to go and re-look at this agreement. So that's our concern as a citizen.
Yeah, this is a day of the demonstration that is against the genocide agreement between the Namibian government as well as the German government on the 1.1 billion. Everybody is here now petitioning for the parliament not to allow this agreement to go through so that it can be made a law, or at least the reparation agreement between the Namibian government and the German government on behalf of the people of Namibia who are the victims, the Nama and the Ogaherero.
Well, the agreement reached between the Namibian government and the German government is completely unacceptable. It's an insult to the more than 100,000 of Aero who lost their lives in 1904, and an insult to the more than 20,000 Namas that also lost their lives during the 1904 to 1908 genocide. So government bulldozing this process and throwing it down the throats, forcing it down the throats of the affected communities is absolutely unacceptable. That is why we are saying that the process must reopen, and the government in the Namibian government and the German government must give more space to the affected communities at the negotiating table. Otherwise, this arrangement is an arrangement that is done without the affected communities. And we cannot accept something that is so unacceptable that is done for us and without us. That is why we are saying the Namibian government has to reopen these negotiations and facilitate the process for the affected communities to take the German government head on and negotiate for a respectable quantum and genuine reparations. Thank you.
Viva, come, follow me!
It's our house, man. Go in.
Never get enough. You will never be enough.
Parliament to march for whatever they are agreed, they are allowed. You have to close off Parliament, cordon off Parliament, just for a genocide march not to take place.
Yes.
We reject the 1.1 billion.
We reject it. We will never get
1.1 billion.
enough.
1.1 billion. It is the biggest joke that Germany and the government has ever put on the table. To want to pay for the lives of more than 160,000 Namibians with land dispossession and cattle, goats that were taken from us. We are making it a point that is going into the Parliament of Namibia. Any parliament that respects this bill is a crazy parliament. We must collapse this bill. We stand in unity of our communities. What Germany has paid the Jews, they have paid the Polish, they must do the same. They must pay out, they must pay us what is duly deserved by the communities. We shall not allow a situation where we are told at night to accept deals that are made without explanation to us. It is within our rights. It is within the constitution of this country. Police officers, you are our sons and daughters. When we are applying the law, you must also be judicious.
Yes.
What right do you have to do that? Members of parliament, members of parliament, are denied by the police to come into parliament.
Right.
This is the patient's parliament. 1.1 billion. We are rejecting that 1.1 billion. We are We are rejecting that deal, and we are saying, let's restart afresh and negotiate a deal that works in the interest of our people.
Yes, Kazali must come. Yes. Okay, Kazali. You can even go there. Yeah. Kazali cannot be the person to give you the order. He refuses to come into parliament. He has never parliament. Elected like Kazali.
I asked you nicely, you are ignoring me. I asked you nicely, you are ignoring me.
No!
You are the head of security. You need to answer. I asked him nicely. What's the problem? This house belongs to the people of Namibia. It is not a swapper house. It is not a president's house. It is not Prime Minister's house. This house belongs to the people of Namibia. This is the house of representatives. This is not Swapper's house. This is not Sarah's house. This is not Monica's house. This is not anyone's house. This is the people's house. This is the people's house. This is the people's house. This house belongs to the people. It's not Kashami's house. It's not Kasima's house. This is the people's house.
We are also not going to insult. We are not going to insult other people, nor the police that we ought to respect, because they are also a constitutional body to protect us. So we await the recipients of the petition to come and listen to get the petition, even if they can stand upstairs.
We are not here to protect. We are not here to protect the party. We are not here to
Oh, okay.
We don't want them to do what we want.
We want the speaker to come and receive our petition.
Yeah.
1 billion? Reparations? Reparations? No. Reparations? 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 Thank you.
Genocide that you're talking about, if you are not including communities that are outside the diaspora. What we are saying is very firm. The 1.1 billion is a joke. 1.1 billion taking depreciation value of 18.1 billion Namibian dollar over 30 years is 7 billion. So you are saying it's fine for Germans to kill 163 citizens, dispossess Namibians for their land, take movable and immovable property, and after that you are giving us 7 billion for 30 years, the money that you give to a Ministry of Health and Social Services for 1 year, you are giving us for 30 years, and we must be happy with that. So we are saying let's stand firm and bring a deal that represents the ethos and values of these communities. The consequences is that you would have a motion that is rejected by the majority of the people that it is intended to. There is one thing in politics called realpolitik. Realpolitik is dictating that the majority of the descendants and communities for which this reparation is for are not happy with the construct. First is the construct, secondly is the result that has been delivered. And I've engaged the ruling party, I've engaged the president of this country, urging him to come to the table to do the right thing on behalf of the people of this country, to make sure that interested parties that are outside come on the table, diasporans that have suffered the consequences of this brutal genocide come on the table, and we present a formidable working formula for our people. The argument that the ruling party is proposing is that why should we deal with Hereros that are foreign nationals of other countries, or Namas that are foreign nationals? That's a very shallow argument. The Jews were paid that were in Israel. Up to today, Polish Jews that are in Poland, in various polities across the world, they are being paid that are in diaspora. So what is wrong with Namas and Hereros that are in the diaspora? So what we are saying is Parliament must do the right thing. The right thing is collapse the deal, start afresh, bring communities on board, bring diaspora on board, negotiate a broader formula. You can even use this formula as a negotiating working paper to broaden the scope and present a better deal on behalf of our people.
Namibia is the only country that has citizens who speak Germany one or two words. So if the Marshall Plan that Germany received after the Second World War has given them impetus to become the fourth largest economy, the same amount of money that they have paid to the Jews have given the Israelis and the Jews a start in their lives. They must do the same to ordinary black citizens of Africa whom they have caused so much suffering up to this day. So we are rejecting the deal in total, because if we don't reject it, Germany wants us to go negotiate the quantum, leave the other people. We are saying we are going to accept a deal that is comprehensive, that takes all the matters in direction, and make sure that the deal encompasses the aspirations of our people, include our people, pay them what they are fairly due. Of course, there is no monetary terms that you can give to lives, but 1.1 billion equal to 7 billion after depreciation cannot be the money that we people should accept. And if Germany says, please, that is our acceptance, they can continue with their bilateral aid, because they have already given us that kind of money without showing any remorse. So I've written to the political leadership of Germany. I've written to Russia, who is the CDU Chancellor candidate. I've written to Paul Bauer, who is the Green, and all the major parties, asking them that we see Germany as a partner with Namibia. They must do good. If they meant to do good, they must really do good and make sure that they are alleviating suffering. Out of the 7,000 farms that are in Namibia, Germany is already ready to atone 2,500. Are you really atoning, or are you just joking? Germany must come to the party and do the right thing and make sure that we find a comprehensive deal that answers to the socio-economic upliftment of our people. And that's why we are rejecting it.
May their souls rest in eternal peace. Genocide. Deliberately rejecting the word genocide, and our delegation was pushing for, no, what you have done is really genocide. At the last moment, they put the word genocide without legal obligation. Then our negotiators thought that
For the last 4 years, we were pushing the word genocide. Now we got it. Now we have the Germans in our corner. But the Germans go away with the word and say, fine, it's genocide, but with no legal obligation. So nothing can be done for the guilt that we have done. We allow the Germans to do that. At the quantum, the German says, actually, because there is no legal obligation, we are not entitled to pay reparation. We can only pay you bilateral agreement aid. And this is a joke.
Our legitimate reparations and restitution demands. We believe that we, the Namibian state, is obligated by numerous international legal instruments it acceded to. The general principle that the reparations are appropriate and required in cases of gross human rights violations, such as the genocide, has been affirmed by the United Nations General Assembly in the 2005 Basic Principles in Guidelines to a remedy and reparations for victims of gross violations of international human rights and serious violations of international humanitarian law. The so-called Reconstruction and Reconciliation Agreement also deviates materially from the 2006 Reconciliation of Parliament of Namibia on genocide of the Obahero and Nama communities. We are the representatives of Obahero, Obamaluru, and Nama communities, and the Landless People's Movement, Rally for Democracy and Progress, the Popular Democratic Movement, and Namibian Economic Freedom Fighters, National Unity, Democratic Organizations, SWANU, and Independent Patriots for Change, who are joined here to make this journey. I have two documents here. Good afternoon to you. I have two documents here that I will report to you on behalf that I will give to you on behalf of the political parties and formations that are still there. I pray that the National Assembly, particularly those with a majority, hears our plea, and of course you as the Speaker, that you take this and take it into high consideration because we do highly value the peace and stability in this place. We also therefore ask the Parliament, also the Speaker, that this be seen as coming from the majority of these communities and that the political formations that I mentioned, they represent these communities. And of course, as your proceedings will begin or will soon begin in the chamber, I plead unto thee and everybody that you take this document with the agency that it deserves, because we are talking about an issue of great sensitivity and an issue that has been coming for a very long time. We want to solve this issue and we want to move on, and therefore we of course then plight the National Assembly not to ratify the incoming bill, not to ratify the agreement between the two governments as the affected communities see it as a hostage. They do not regard it, they do not acknowledge it, and they reject it vehemently. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, don't worry. You can just come close.
We're not against government. We want our money.
Question. In fact, it is an African question. As LPM, we do not participate in these issues of genocide from the position of any ethnocentric perspective. For us,
It is a decolonial program of action that should have been engaged in right from independence by the new SWAPO party government. It is a program and a project that if you look at both Namibia, you look at Rwanda, and you look at Tanzania and what the Germans had done during the colonial period, that there was need for these governments to look at the question of genocide and the atrocities subsequently committed in other countries by the Germans and say, let's form a united front and mobilize our entire communities and nation states to fight for this issue. We have, as a result of the work of the late Chief Primary Wako, today been able to speak about a genocide in the perspective of the communities that were given an extermination order, which is the Ovaherero, the Nama, and the Ovabanderu, and then those that were directly affected, such as the Damara and the San communities, out of his work through a motion that was, thank God, unanimously accepted by this parliament. This should have been a program already as part of the decolonization process that should have been engaged upon. Because the question of genocide is not just the killing of people. It is the question of killing of people, the brutality therein, the question of loss of life, of young children, the question of loss of land, the loss of economic space and economic opportunities, and subsequent displacement and fundamental dispossession of livestock and all the livelihood means that people had to live and live a meaningful life. So it was a fundamental human rights question that had to be put at the high priority list of the new government. It did not happen. Today, unfortunately, we are seeing that people use this issue and look at this issue as a means to divide communities and divide the country and try to look at this issue from the point of view of a few ethnic communities. It is not. It is a project of justice. It is a project of internal human peace. It is a program that requires all of us to demonstrate human solidarity. And it should be a Pan-African program of action that should be supported by the EU and other institutions that we have on the continent. When you look at the Germans, they have given the Greek and the Armenian genocide a better recognition. And one of the things that we are speaking about, apart from the national question that I have articulated now, is the legal part of this genocide. If you compare it to the Jewish question, compared to the Greek and other genocides that have taken place, this agreement that the people will be given today in Parliament, negotiated by Gaviro and others, is one that does not give any legal binding commitment from the Germans to the people of Namibia. It doesn't. It is apparently a moral and political obligation only. The challenge is, once you do not have a legally binding agreement that compels the victim party as well as the villain to agree on legal sets of principles, any person can go and change their mind anytime as their morality shifts, as their political orientation shifts. What is the issue? Why are we highlighting this question that a moral and political agreement is a loose agreement? Because listen, just 115 years ago, it was politically and morally acceptable for Germany to commit a genocide. Morality changes, politics change. Therefore, if the German morality and its politics change, you do not have a recourse if you enter into this agreement on the basis of a legal arrangement that you have made. You do not have it. The moral and political basis that we are asked to enter this agreement depends on the Germans entirely. Besides, over and above that, what they are saying is that they merely hold the prospect to pay. They are not even giving a thorough, clear, and a legally binding commitment to actually pay the reparations money, which is called the reconciliation agreement. And therefore, from the legal point of view, it is a flawed and non-binding arrangement. From the financial point of view, not only is the quantum a laughable quantum, but the promise to pay is not a firm promise. The promise to pay was given firmly to the Jews. The promise to pay was given to other communities where Germany has been doing similar activities. But in respect of the genocide here, there is no firm commitment to pay. There is no firm binding legal commitment that keeps the Germans on the table to
continue paying. There is no firm arrangement in terms of which disputes will be settled as they are going forth in implementing this arrangement. So it's a laughable arrangement. It is an arrangement that demonstrates the incapacity that the Namibian diplomatic corps as sent out to deal with this matter has shown that we are just a weak, incapacitated, poorly organized government, that was negotiating with a government that has over, or with a state that has over 4,000 years of diplomatic experience. We have only 31 years of experience, but we were completely unable to even tap the best of the people that we have from the legal and economic and all other fields. And we were outmaneuvered, outmastered, belittled, and completely outmaneuvered by the Germans. It's a laughable thing. We can't accept it. Also because the Namibian government is not clear as to what was its quantum that it submitted to the Germans. What was it that it was negotiating for? Where is that document that they were using as an instrument to engage in the negotiations? It's not clear. This agreement only tells us that the Germans have agreed to this arrangement, and therefore we must also agree. This we cannot do, and the struggle therefore must continue. Every loving, peace-loving Namibian, every Namibian, regardless of ethnicity, every Namibian, regardless of race or political party, must stand with the communities today who are gathered here to reject this bad deal that was made, which is not in the interest of this country or of the communities that we stand for as a country. So it's about unification of the country. It is not a question of this ethnic group against the other ethnic group, or this group of ethnic groups against that group of other ethnic groups. That is not the issue. People try to make it about that. It is not about that. It can never be about that. It's an African issue where Africans need to stand together for the betterment of our lives and for restorative justice to become a reality in our lifetime. Thank you.